Welcome to week 2 of small groups. You made it. I'm glad that you're here. I hope that your host homes are treating you well. I'm sure they are. This is week 2, and we thought that we'd start this thing off with a little flair. Honestly, George, Holden, and I spent some serious time refining our dance moves. And this week, we want to challenge you. We want to see if you can beat our TikTok dance. You can choose any appropriate TikTok dance and make one with your small group. And if you beat ours, then there might be a prize in store. But see if you can beat this.
Carol Baskin killed her husband, whacked him. Can't convince me that it didn't happen. Fed them to tigers, they snacking. What's happening? Carol Baskin.
Yes, there's no way that you're going to beat that. Honestly, that was just beautiful. Today, guys, we're jumping and we're continuing into Philippians. I want to tell you a quick story real quick, though. The other day, I was watching Finding Dory, the second installment of the Finding Nemo series. I was watching Finding Dory with my son, Mac Daddy, who's like 20 months old. He was sitting in my lap. It was just him and I found myself crying, laughing at one part of the movie. I was probably just sleep deprived. I was crying, laughing at this one part of the movie, and it was this part where Destiny the whale, who's kind of blind, Destiny the whale and Bailey the beluga are talking, and Destiny's like, I don't know if I can do this. I don't know if this is right for me. I don't know if I should go and jump over this wall. Well, Bailey the beluga kind of comes over to her wall and looks at Destiny and whispers, "It's your destiny, Destiny." And I was dying laughing all the while my son was looking up at me like, it's not that funny. So I felt really insecure about what I think is comical. But in that, I was thinking, actually through this text, I was kind of thinking, well, how can I open this up? What would I say? And I was thinking, man, you and I are trying to find out what we're made for, especially in high school and in college, trying to figure out, okay, what am I supposed to major in? What is my destiny? What's my purpose in life? What am I made for? What am I going to accomplish that's going to add value to this earth that I happen to inhabit? And what I've realized in looking through this text is that our greatest potential and the most satisfaction, our greatest potential is reached, and our most satisfaction in life comes from when we do what we were created for, what our created intent actually is. That comes with the most satisfaction in life, and the highest potential achieved is when we do what we were created for. A way to put it is, a bird is most free and has the most satisfaction when it flies, or like a fish or Destiny has the most satisfaction when she swims. But not everybody buys into this concept that there is this purpose for us. A lot of the world believes that really, if you want to achieve what you're supposed to achieve, then you're supposed to make it. You're supposed to make your created intent. You're supposed to bully your way into finding what you're made to do. Your reason for existence is to be made up by you. Now, if the whole reason you exist is to be made up by you, then your circumstances can certainly change that. Because there's a lot of things outside of your control, right, in this world. People believe that really you just live and you die based on what you create for your life. But the Bible would say that there is a created intent for you, that you have a purpose that He makes. And when we're a part of that, no circumstances can faze it. Let me put it this way. How many of you guys know somebody, or maybe have seen an athlete or someone who's put their whole purpose in life into sports? Maybe that's one of you. Maybe some of you guys have some sort of thing that you do, and that's your whole purpose in life. Your destiny surrounds, what you do. Well, we know and see all the time, one injury or one phone call can shatter that entire purpose. And we see people who are much older, old age comes when they're playing sports, and they realize, I can't swing the golf club, or I can't shoot a basket, or I can't play this instrument as well as I could in my younger years. Because when that purpose is removed, they don't see a reason to live. They've tied their purpose in life to something that's finite. What I want us to see today is that no matter what circumstances happens in our life, it can't affect our purpose. our life endeavor, it cannot affect your purpose if you're tied to something that's infinite. Because no circumstances could change what God has for you. Actually, when circumstances that come or that are uncertain, man, it only creates opportunity for your purpose to further flourish. So today, your big idea, one thing, if you have one thing that you take a note on in your phone, one thing you write down, is that uncertain circumstances create certain opportunity. Uncertain circumstances create certain opportunity. Lots of C's. And that's found in Philippians 1, 12 through 18, which you guys are going to read. Paul actually explains, I'm going to read just a little bit of it. Paul says in Philippians 1, verse 12, he says, I want you to know, brothers, that what has happened to me has really served to advance the gospel. So what happened to Paul? Well, in this, if you read some context, not only in Acts, but also a little bit in Romans, we find out that what happened to Paul was a riot, a 2-year imprisonment, an appeal to Caesar, a threat on his life, a trip to Rome, which caused a shipwreck, his house arrest, restricted freedom, and then the impending trial that happened because of it. Paul saw all these events happening in his life, and he says, no, I see this as forging new territory for the gospel. I see this not as a stop sign, but as a springboard. I see this uncertain circumstance, and I believe and I know that it's creating certain opportunity. Where does he get that confidence from? If I were him and I was in prison, it'd be hard to do my job, right? It'd be hard to be like, okay, I'm supposed to teach Jesus to my friends in high school. I can't wait. Let's say I get arrested for, being too awesome at something, and I go to prison. How am I going to advance the gospel? My purpose is shattered. Well, Paul says his purpose isn't tied to the circumstances that happen around him. In fact, if something's uncertain, if he gets imprisoned, which he was, he sees that as blazing new trails, not as stop sign, but as a springboard for what's going to happen, for what God's accomplishing in his life. A great way to put this, when I was a senior in high school, I got a phone call that I pray nobody gets. I got a phone call. My mom called me and said, I want you to come home. Your dad and I need to talk to you. And I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know what's going on. I remember punching a hole in the wall and hiding it with a cabinet. I wonder if they found the hole. It wasn't that. I went home, I sat down with my parents, and they told me that they were getting a divorce. And man, I was crushed. I was completely crushed. It seemed like all roads were a stop sign. Honestly, it seemed like my whole purpose, my whole life, which was surrounded by my family, was over. It was a complete stop sign for my purpose and life, and I was shattered. If you fast forward a couple years later, I graduated college, and now I sit with student after student who is experiencing the hardship that is divorce, and I get to talk to them about my feelings through that process. I get to empathize with them and walk with them through something that is just so terrible. See, that uncertain circumstance created a certain opportunity to advance the gospel, to advance the truth that Jesus is Lord and that God is forming all things through even bad circumstances. Romans 8:28 says, and we know that God causes everything to work together for his good and for the good of those who love God and are called according to his purpose for them. That's the NLT version. We know that God causes everything to work together for the good of those who love God and who are called according to his purpose for them. He's got a purpose, and we can be a part of that. We can choose to embrace the purpose that he has for us and so be on the destiny. It's your destiny to walk even when bumps come in the road, to walk with the opportunity to advance the gospel, to blaze new trails for the gospel to be heard in different places. Now, Paul backed this up, right? This isn't just empty words because he was right. He follows us up and says, the imperial guard is hearing this good news. Good things are happening because of this trial that I am experiencing currently. He's saying, look, I want you to speak. I want you to speak in the midst of these uncertain circumstances and so advance the gospel. So I have a small illustration for you. I want you to stick with me, okay? I'm almost done. I want you guys to not just give people Jesus pills, but I want you to give them gospel goggles. Okay, well, how's that apply? Tell me, explain. Right now, we are all under uncertain circumstances. It's obvious. You guys are probably thinking, I just want my summer back. My whole summer's been completely disturbed. That's an uncertain circumstance. Well, is there a certain opportunity to grab in that? Now, how we do that is interesting. Paul says that he wants us to speak. Well, how? In giving people Jesus pills, you probably see this on Instagram all the time. It's like, hey, why don't you just go check out my Instagram bio, read that verse, and it'll make you feel better. It'll soothe you. It'll relax you. Or maybe you see an Instagram story that says, all we need really is Jesus. Now, that's not bad, and I'm sure it's done with great intentions. But a trite phrase of, let me just give you Jesus, doesn't really do anything for them. It's just giving them a pill that says, hey, I want to soothe you. Instead, I want you to give them gospel goggles. I want you to help people see that their purpose, their destiny, that why they were made isn't tied to what they do, but it's tied to what He's doing in the world around us, what He's doing in and through you. If you have friends that don't know this Jesus, man, we can show them that putting on these gospel goggles brings a life that no matter what the circumstance, no matter what happens in their life, no matter what divorce, plague, riot, global pandemic occurs, God is accomplishing something through unforeseen, uncertain circumstances. That's our challenge to you guys today, is to speak. So as you meet in your small groups, talk about this verse. Go through it line by line. It is incredible that Paul would consider it joy, would hold to joy, because he knows that uncertain circumstances produce certain opportunity. We love you guys. Have a great small group. Peace.